Hi, my name is Rene, sounds like green, and I'm a Minnesota-based probate real estate specialist. And today I'm joined by Bill Gross, a Los Angeles-based probate real estate specialist with over 30 years of experience. Bill, before we get started, just tell us a little bit about yourself and the services you provide and why you chose to work in the probate space.
Wow. Well, I'm going forever about both those topics, but I've been in real estate since 1986.
Hmm.
So 38 years, not by coincidence, same year I got married. I am a real estate broker. I've done things in different capacities in real estate during that time. The last 5.5, 6 years, I've been really focused almost exclusively in probate and trust real estate and working with both families and with attorneys on helping them navigate the process more efficiently and selling real estate property. I got into that. I was a manager of a company before that, and I was trying to help agents who are looking for areas to specialize in and to learn. And like a lot of realtors, I came across a deal once in a while involved in probate, but I never really, it's like I would do enough just to get that deal done, but I never really mastered it. We invited in a company, a title representative who talked about it in detail, and I was just fascinated. And then about 6 years ago, when I left management to go back into production, I spent a little bit of time really working on a business plan and determined this was an area that I could really specialize in, help people and develop expertise. And so 6 years later, I built a national platform of a podcast. I have vendors I work with across the country and help families and attorneys here in Los Angeles.
Absolutely. And we will include a link to your podcast and your Facebook groups and your YouTube channel in the show notes. Bill, you have a lot going on social media, and I believe you really are one of the national experts in this space. So it's a privilege to talk to you today. We get a lot of questions about selling a home in probate, and there seems to be a lot of confusion around selling property during probate. And just out of curiosity, why do you think this is such an important topic for families to understand?
I think that in sports, coaches always talk about the transitions. If you play basketball, you're on defense. As soon as you get the ball, you want to turn around quickly and be on offense. Or in football, when you intercept the ball, you turn around and run and want to block the other team. In real estate, transitions are critical times, whether it be somebody passing, somebody getting too old, moving up into a new home. All those are key transition periods that are common, and there's certain common challenges they have. And so rather than just deal with the general, I don't really um, compete with the local realtor who holds an open house and she's going to aspire to have the world's best smelling open houses or the most balloons or the most advertisement. I don't know that that really distinguishes you as an agent, but I do know that, like I went to court today, I can really help my customers navigate what can sometimes be sticky legal situations. I'm not an attorney, but in many cases I know more about it than the attorney does because
Mhm.
all I do is probate real estate versus many attorneys who do a wide variety of civil litigation and divorces and family law, and they get the occasional probate and they need an expert that they can rely on. So I try to be that person.
That's a really good point. I know a lot of people that I work with in the Facebook group and Probate Help Desk. They make the assumption that all attorneys are equal when it comes to probate, and I've run into scenarios like you described where
Yeah.
some know probate better than others, and sometimes as a probate specialist, we can be of great assistance to some of those attorneys who might need a little help along the way.
I did some research when I started in this. I'm sure you're familiar. There's companies you can buy data from of probate filings. And so I would take
Mhm.
all the probate cases filed in the LA County where I work and sort them by attorney. And what I realized was 90% of the cases are done by an attorney who's done one probate in the last year or less, either
Yep.
one or zero. Well, how good can you be if you do one or zero, right? Because
Right.
the rules change, the laws change, the procedures change. And so even if you were smart and knew the law 2 years ago, you're in trouble today. So I noticed that pattern. And I felt that being an expert in that area wouldn't take a lot. It would just take more than the majority. And I also would say that, by definition, the average attorney is average, right? By,
Right.
by
Right.
mathematical definition, the average is average. Well, but nobody says I want an average attorney to determine the most important assets of my family's legacy wealth. we all say, no, we want somebody who really is going to help us, who knows what they're doing. And so I just felt as a real estate agent in particular and working with attorneys that we really want the best in that niche to solve that problem. And sometimes there's certain probate attorneys that do well on routine administrative matters. There's other attorneys that excel in litigation. There's other
Right.
attorneys that excel in other areas, and we can get into some of those special niches, guardianships and conservatorships. They're all different, and you want to have the right expert on your team, or else you're going to get average service.
100%. And one of the other things that I've noticed is when you're working with a probate specialist compared to just a great agent in general, sometimes the specialist can really save the family a lot of money and save the
Right,
attorney a lot of time just by
right,
understanding the process and the forms and
right.
liabilities and some of those other things.
Right. Yeah, I think that that's the key. And it's hard to document the value of expertise, but we all know it when we see it. I know as a real estate agent, I was in court today on a matter and I saw other cases where the attorneys were making routine mistakes that would cost the families months of extra delays and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars or more of extra fees and fighting time and such. And so definitely there's a value to expertise in this field.
Absolutely. And Bill, you've mentioned that you spend time in court, I believe, in Los Angeles County. Is it
Mhm.
Los Angeles County Court?
Was there today? I mean, I've been to Orange County Court, San Diego, Riverside,
Mm.
San Bernardino, but I live half an hour from the LA County Court, and we're the largest probate courthouse in America. So I go there more regularly than others.
Perfect. So for some of those families who find themselves in a probate situation,
Mhm.
how does the probate sale process typically unfold when there's real estate involved? And how do you see that as different from a regular sales process?
It varies by state. And I think
Mhm.
that the thing I always tell people is it's never a problem until it's a problem. And what I mean by that is, that you want to move quickly if you know what you're doing, because the longer it takes, the more likely somebody's going to get upset and cause a problem. And we have
Mhm.
problems typically is we have multiple errors, and everybody, even if they all agree in the beginning, hey, we all get along, we're all brothers, sisters, we all love each other. Yeah. But after a few months, and one of the errors is going on Zillow and goes, hey, you selling it for 500,000. Well, Zillow says it's worth 650. It just takes one or two of those conversations. And then the family member who's running the matter is a bad day for him. His wife yelled at him, or his kid did something wrong. He's a little short and he goes, what the hell is Zillow? And
Yep.
next thing you know, you have litigation. And so I always tell people that you have a game plan, execute the plan quickly, and you want to know what that game plan is ahead of time. And it varies by state, it varies by circumstance, but there's a correct game plan for every family, and you want to execute that proper game plan for you.
100% agree with that. And when you put together a game plan for those families, do
Mm.
you include assessment or determination on whether you should bring a cash buyer or an iBuyer or a traditional buyer? Is that part of your process, Bill?
Yeah, I would say that I like to lay out options for customers. I feel like an educated customer will always make the best decision. And so my job is to say, okay, well, here's three options. Option one is I can get you a cash buyer today as it sits, just turn it over to them and they'll take it out. There's junker cars, they'll deal with them. There's, city issues, they'll deal with them. There's trash, there's squatters, whatever there is, they're going to write you a check for whatever the number is and you're done with it. That's an option. Option two is that we get it prepared and then bid it out to several iBuyers, the term that you used, or even flippers or investors
Mhm.
that are going to, but we want to prepare it for them and get a competitive environment for them and put in the MLS and have a few weeks and have an auction. And the third would be a retail price. The thing is that I find the biggest bad advice realtors give customers is spending time or money preparing the property. I feel like there's nothing you can do to increase the value other than increasing access, which means trashing out the property so people can walk it, and safety, right? You
Mhm.
can't have people walking in the house with nails exposed, broken floors, rats. You have to have it's illegal to put people in an unsafe environment for one. And
Right.
you also risk now you have an asset, you might be broke, but not even asset, they can sue you. So you have to have the
Right.
house, I think, cleaned out and safe. I generally say to them, spending money to repaint, you're not going to get, if it's $5,000 for paint, you're going to get $3,000 more for the house.
Right.
Why would you do that? Some people really want to paint the house. They grew up in it. Their mom lived there. Well, that's their choice. That's not my job to say they're wasting their time or money. It's my job to say you're not going to get but $3,000 back for that $5,000 job. You're going to delay things a month or two, but at the end of the day, it's your pleasure. It's your life. So again, to answer your question, I would say my job is to lay out the options for the customer, and then they'll make the right decision for themselves. That's my philosophy.
Absolutely. And I like to do that too. I like to lay out the options so that they know they have options.
Mhm.
Some of the people in my market, if they call a cash buyer first, they're just dealing with a cash buyer and they don't understand all of their
Right.
options. And so I like to really make sure they understand those options so we can choose a plan that's best for the family.
Well, always that cash buyer they call before they talk to me is always trying to lowball the deal, trying to
Yeah.
rush it through,
Yeah.
putting pressure on them. And I would say to them, listen, there's no rush. And, transparency. And if you're fishing, I know nothing about fishing, to be honest. But if you're fishing and you have a bigger net, you're more likely to catch fish than a smaller net.
Right.
So when one cash buyer comes by your house, imagine if you put in the MLS and showed every cash buyer in town the house is available. And I remember my best friend's parents passed away. They had a house here in the area, a very nice area. And this cash buyer offered him $950,000. He thought that was all the money in the world. I said, it's worth at least 1.2. I mean, for
Hmm.
sure, 1.2. I said, that's, $250,000. He goes, well, it's 5 heirs. I said, yeah, it's 50,000 each of you. Like, how much do you work? How much do you work a year after taxes? What do you earn? He goes, well, you're right. And we got 1.4 for it.
Wow. Yep.
And so in general, I always say that cash buyer, the reason why they're pushing you is they know as soon as word gets out, they're going to pay more.
Yep.
And that's their game plan. And so in general, that's not serving the customer the best alternative. Now, sometimes customers say to me, I don't care. I just want to make a decision. And they're stressed and they just want an answer. Fine. Then that's, again, their
Correct.
prerogative.
Correct. And I like to, I really, part of those options, I like to put together those net sheets. So
Hmm.
the the judge can see it, the attorney can see it, and anybody in
Yes.
the family can see it. And then I also
Yes.
like to give people in the family a chance to match the best offer that comes in. So
Yes.
if they think we're underselling the home, they
Yes.
can buy it. And so,
Yeah, we have in California, we have a robust court confirmation process. Many times, sale homes being sold for whatever reason, if there's a disagreement, requires court confirmation. They go to court, meet certain procedures, and the court will say, "Fine, anybody want to bid more on it?" And I've had many cases where one of the heirs said, "Yeah, they're underselling the property," and the judge said, "Well, did you see it published for sale? Yeah. Did you see it online available? Yeah. Did you want to write an offer? No. Well, you can't say
yep.
it's worth more. So yeah, that's the key. I think at the end of the day, look, today I went to court and there was a cash offer for an estate at $401,000. And I knew the realtor was cheating the customer.
Mm,
They double ended the deal. They put in the MLS wrong. They typoed the name of the property.
oh,
They did several things obviously wrong. When I reached out to him for copies of disclosures in the title report, he would not respond to me. But I
mm.
had a very sophisticated buyer. We went to court to bid on it, and we bid up to 460,000, and the original buyer ended up paying 465.
Oh,
So
wow.
we earned for that estate for $64,000 additional revenue just by being competitive and pushing against them. But I'm sure the investor has said to him, we'll get it closed and we'll move
Right.
quickly. They didn't tell them it's going to cost you $64,000 or more.
Yep.
So that's where sometimes this business can be, I think, shady. And I got into it because I saw that literally across the street. My neighbor, an elder lady we knew very well. I knew she passed. I didn't know if she was pronounced dead in the house or taken to the
Mm,
hospital. That's a key distinction. Some people don't want to buy a house when somebody passed in the house. And I kept asking listing agent. I texted her, emailed her, and phoned her. She never replied to me. And I had a friend who wanted to buy a house and he ended up being a little spooked and passed on it. And I said, you know what? I'm never going to allow it to happen to my customers. And I'm going to
right.
try to uncover those deals. So that's why what prompted me to get into probate was to avoid families being taken advantage of.
That's what happened to me as well. I did it for the same reason because when I was a personal representative, I received some of those offers from cash buyers.
Yeah.
And then my attorney would spend time going through them, all of them, and marking them up and saying, no, no, no earnest money, you know, not a real offer. And it amazed me. Even some of the people with good intentions still end up in situations where they're taking advantage or seems like they're taking advantage of some of these families. So, um, Bill, so you spend time in court, you work with a lot of families. What do you recommend a family should do first when they find themselves in a situation where they have a probate property to sell? Where should they start? What do you encourage them to do?
You know, I think that one of my one thing I say to people I coach them in every endeavor is we don't spend enough time thinking about things. And so think about what you're talking about. Now, if you're just talking about some family heirlooms and a couple cars, it's not such a big deal. If you're talking about, a house, and of course in California, a house minimum $500,000, $1 million or more. You talk about life-changing money for many people. Um, think about that. You're now you have a business where you're selling $500,000 or $1 million worth of assets, and you're hiring people to help you through that process. And so think about really what you want to do,
Hmm.
and before you make a decision, part of the part of the process of hiring people is asking them for their input and their advice. And that's where I find there's real estate agents will say, oh yeah, you should take the house and invest a lot of money in it, become a flipper. Well, and for some people, that's what they want to do. Their whole life, they
Right.
wanted to flip a house. Okay, great. Other people, it's like, I just want the cash. Okay, well, then you need to have a team that moves quickly and knows those procedures. Who's in the house? Is there an heir? Is there a squatter?
Yeah.
And so I would say that the best thing to do before you rush into any decisions on hiring people is get clear on what your goals are, and then work with the people who are best able to help you achieve your goals, whatever those are.
That's great advice. And as you mentioned earlier, part of establishing your goals is really understanding what your options are too.
Hmm.
So I like how that all comes together.
Hmm.
There are the goals, but then there are the options to achieve those goals. And
Hmm.
sometimes you'll find out that some of these options are not great for your situation, but at least having an understanding helps you
Right.
eliminate them.
Right.
Excellent. Bill, I really appreciate your time. Any other closing thoughts regarding selling a house and probate? What did we miss that these families and personal representatives really should know?
I think that the real estate press has made it look really easy to sell property in reality TV shows. And I think the thing I would caution people is, it's one thing if you have nothing else to do and you want to do what I do all day long, fine, do that. But if you have a job or you have a business that takes your time, and you can't take phone calls during the day, you can't negotiate, multiple offers during the day
Mm,
because you're busy. Well, you expect your realtor to do that. And if you're the realtor or you're the team leader on the estate, you can't do that. That means the job's not being done right. You need somebody to do that job. You need somebody to quarterback the team. And so
mhm,
oftentimes what I say to them, let me be your quarterback. There's certain things that attorneys normally do that I'll do for you, not legal work, but in terms of organizing the team, reporting, creating spreadsheets with all the different offers and the different conditions, the things that you mentioned that your attorney did for you. I think that you really need to. There's more involved in it, and the reason why states often allow administrators to collect a fee is because it is like a business or a job.
mhm,
And just like you wouldn't bus tables at a restaurant for free, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with busting tables, but if you're going to do it, you're going to get paid to do it. You know, um, if you're going to babysit, you want to get paid. Then if you're going to sell houses or manage an estate, that either you got to get paid or you have to pay somebody to do it, and make sure you're getting good value for you. Nobody's going to do it for free. Anybody who says they're going to do it for free isn't going to do a professional job by definition.
absolutely. And I've experienced some of the people in our Facebook group who uh, were trying to save some money, especially in the attorney space, and
Right.
they ended up losing millions of dollars,
Right.
literally millions by
Right.
saving 10,000.
Right. Right. And so that's where I think that, penny wise and pound foolish. I think that not having an estate plan to avoid probate. I think anybody who owns a house should have an estate plan done. In most states, that includes a trust. I
Hmm.
think, and including health directives. One of the sad story, I actually met him recently, Jay Leno,
Mm.
very wealthy, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Everybody in Hollywood loves him. He's a nice guy. He gives time. He has no children, so he gives a lot of time to different charities. Unfortunately, his wife is ill and unable to
Mm.
make decisions medically for herself, and they don't have the proper health director. So imagine having to go to court and have a court conservatorship public, and you're a Hollywood star with that kind of history, and all of her decisions now are public. All of her status is public.
Oh,
All of her decisions are public now. How humiliating that must be, because some attorney didn't get an estate plan done for him and her at that time. So, it happens all the time. So many people pass without a will, without a proper plan. And I would say the best thing for anybody listening to this is take some time to um, plan ahead, which means to not need probate. And I'm sure, Rene, I'm sure estate planning services are appropriate at different price points in different areas.
absolutely. Well, Bill, thank you for helping provide some tips on selling a home in probate. Bill, I mentioned that you are in the Los Angeles area. You
Mhm,
and I have a network of probate specialists across the country who can
mhm.
help. What is the best way for someone to contact you for more advice?
Well, on social media at Bill Gross Probate. My website's billgrossprobate.com, and my phone number's there, email's there. Set an appointment, come to my Facebook group, Probate Weekly. I have a podcast I do every week called Probate Weekly as well. So go to billgrossprobate.com. You'll find all my contact info.
Excellent. And we will include all of that info in the show notes as well. And Bill, this has been really, really helpful for families who might need assistance or are not sure where to start. And so I really appreciate you just taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule to chat with us today.
My pleasure. Well, Reed, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Bill.
Bye bye.